Good afternoon. I'll give everybody a minute here. Hope everybody's doing well. Hello, Georgette. Hello, Sandy. And the morning has just flown by. Hello, Joanne. I'm just drinking some tea while I'm waiting for some people to pop on. I always feel like I'm swallowing super loud. It is beautiful and sunny. Hello, Irene. I'm actually going to go out for a walk after I do this. I've got to get out and enjoy this spring weather. Hello, Connie. I decided to go with a springy card today with the yellows and greens. And I must have gone through like 50 pieces of paper by the time I actually figured out what I was doing. So I've got lots of half created backgrounds. Hello, Cynthia. So I grabbed a stencil that's actually on sale, and I have a few stencil ideas for you. You know, if you need to add a few things to your stencil collection. So this one is one of the Colorful Life. Grab the package here. There's a lot of these that are on clearance in the shop. Happy SCT Day. It's their birthday, isn't it? Yes. A lot of paper I ran. Yeah. I'll show you guys, give you a quick look after. It's ridiculous. I think, like, I don't know, nothing was working. So then I have a sample here from using the All and Create. There's some of these. I know this one is still in the shop. This one is Lots of Stars. The one that I'm using for the background that's on sale is Batik Squares. And if you search up A Colorful Life, no you, just OR. Yeah, they're beautiful. You'll see what's in the shop and what's on sale. So this one is another A Colorful Life stencil. And it is called, just going to find the name on here, Circle Mosaic. That's a nice one as well. So the Circle Mosaic I did using the technique that we're going to do. It has a couple extra layers because, like I said, I kind of was trying to figure out how to best do this technique. So really pretty. It's the oxide sprays and the embossing glaze, which is such a nice embossing powder, and then spraying over top to get into those grooves. And this one here is a Crafting Kimmy stencil. So that's the star one, which I really love. The star one, I use the pinks. Thanks. And then the Crafting Kimmy one, this is the Kaleidoscope stencil. And this one, I really liked how it turned out. It almost has like a batik finish, it reminded me of. Like a wax finish. So that was really cool. And then that kind of led me to this, and I thought after I finally had the background figured out, I thought the Altenew flowers would be nice. This is the cone flowers. It's the layering stamp set. I know this one is still in the shop. It's one of my favorites, but there's lots of Altenew flowers. There's the stencils that you can stencil the flowers. So anything that you can create a flower. Pink Fresh has lots. Um, and then you can just cut it out and add a flower to your card and a little sentiment. I do like all the sentiments that are in this. There's lots of different ones, but there's lots of Altenew in the shop, lots of Pink Fresh. The new Alex Siberia, there's a really nice floral set that just came in. And I'm using the Altenew dye ink cubes. I like them because they have the colors all together, the 4 colors that are easy to layer. So Pink Fresh also has their cubes. And if you don't have the little cubes and you still want to do like with your oxides or your inks, I would suggest swatching them out and just see how you can get from lighter to darker. And then that will help you when you're doing your stamp layering or your stencil layering. And if you have them swatched out, then you don't have to figure that out all the time. We also have the dewdrops, not these exact bottles, but we have mixes in the shop. Those just came in from the Robin's Nest, and they are small little acrylic gems, and there's various bottles of mixes that are in really pretty colors. And then I grabbed my Lost Shadow spray and oxide. So stain and oxide sprays. I've got an embossing glaze. This one is Twisted Citron. And then I have 2 colors. I've got the oxide spray with the Twisted Citron and the Rustic Wilderness. So you'll be able to do this technique with whatever you have, just kind of using the steps, which I always think is good to be able to recreate it with other colors. I like putting those gems on with this extra strength Stamperia glue, and actually this glue is great. My kids, I was gluing some projects for them today. I like having this around just as a really strong, sturdy glue. The gems can be shipped by envelope. If you don't need the bottle, then Sandy can pop them in an envelope and ship them to you if you want to save some on shipping. What else do I have? Oh, I had created these. I was going to do one for a live, and I might still, but I kind of got engrossed in this whole mixed media thing. So I did want to show you though, because I made them for samples for the carnival, but they're so cute. This little stitching set from Lawn Fawn. So is it So Very Mice? Let me just grab the set. I never remember what the exact name of this is. Yeah, So Very Mice. And so it has the little mice, it has all the little stitching things, the little embroidery hoop, and I just put those together, added some more of the dewdrops on there, and I added some of the tonic crystal glaze onto the little buttons. How cute are these little tiny spools of thread? So that's one. And then I know this is sold out right now, the rainbow and the hoop. I'm not sure if Sandy has them on order. If it's something you're looking for, definitely let her know and she can order those in. I added a couple cute little felt clouds, and how I did that was I just took some of my kids' craft felt and I put a piece of cardstock in back, and I used my cloud dies from the pop-up cloud inserts. Hey, Stacy. They're just coming back into stock. Yeah, I think they may have been out of stock, but you can watch for those. So I took the clouds, I put the felt on top and the cardstock behind and ran them through, and then I get these cute little felt, and it even adds in the stitched detail. And this is just cheap craft store felt. But I find that you do need, if you're using the cheap, not the wool felt, you just need to have that cardstock behind it. Hello, Lorraine. Late lunch, Stacy. Nice. I'm glad you could pop in. So I added some of those little felt clouds. I've got some stitching here with some embroidery floss, and then the So Very Mice stamps again, and those little dewdrops here. And then the clear ones are, the small ones are some Lucy's cards. So that was what I was working on. And then we're going to make that today. So let me show you what we're doing. And my hands are still a little bit inky. Let's move this out of the way just so we can get organized. I've got a piece of cardstock. Now I did find, thanks Lorraine. Yeah, this is the one we're going to be doing. It's got a resist in the background and a colorful life stencil. So I did this, like I said, a ridiculous amount of times because I'm going to give you guys a look at what I couldn't get anything to really work, or it worked on one, or I didn't like the effect, or some of them are cool, but it's like, I don't know, would I use this? Maybe. This one I liked, but I either couldn't replicate it or it just looked weird. So I found that using a very thin, like an 80-pound cardstock, works better for this technique. So I originally saw this on the Ranger Instagram. This is just some of the, either I mopped up some of the spray, so there's some cool backgrounds in here. I think you could die cut something out of these or use them for a background with maybe a sentiment over top. This one was really bright. I'm not sure exactly what I would use it for, but I do like it, and I use some of those mica sprays. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to save them. I do actually have a bin of kind of all my backgrounds that I've played with, and I sort them by color and pop them in there. And then if I'm looking for a background in a certain color, I just grab that. This one was really cool. And then we've got some tags with some oxide sprays. And I really did have fun just playing around. But anyway, thankfully, I finally figured out what I was doing. This is kind of cool. I found that the 80-pound, I think this is actually like a cover stock. It worked much better for this technique. So I was looking at Ranger Instagram, and they had this tag where they sprayed with stain, embossed it, and then sprayed again, and it looked really cool, but I could not get the embossing powder to stick either. I tried a whole bunch of different papers. So what I kind of came down to was that I decided to choose the Lost Shadow Oxide spray. And then, do you store yours like that too, Stacy? I love having them in rainbow order because then I can just go through the box and look for the color. Hello, Vicky. So the recipe that we're using is you're going to grab the Lost Shadow Oxide, and that seems to be a little thicker and stay a little wetter a little bit longer. And then the color, and I found a lighter color for the embossing, seemed to work. So it didn't matter whether the color was a stain or an oxide. I just happened to have only an oxide in this. The technique will work with that, and I've tried that numerous times just to be sure. Then I grabbed the coordinating embossing powder. So the embossing glaze. So these are both Twisted Citron. So basically that's how no matter what your color you're going with, you're using the oxide spray, either a stain or oxide, and the coordinating embossing glaze. And you know what? If you want to mix it up because just because I spent an afternoon doing backgrounds, I had fun doing it. And I will use them at some point. Then I'm going to put my stencil down. Now, we're not using embossing ink, and so, it doesn't stay as wet as long. And the paper, I did try this on thicker 110-pound paper, and it just didn't seem to stick. The embossing powder didn't stick as well. So I had better luck with the thinner paper. So I tried to just kind of have everything ready. And it's not that you have to panic and hurry, but it's just that you don't have as much time as if you were applying Versamark or the Dauber and then applying your embossing powder. And with the oxide, you always want to make sure that you shake these up so you can kind of see if there's anything stuck on the bottom. Just make sure you shake it so the pigment and the dye are both mixed up, and whatever else is in there, I don't know. Okay, so those are both mixed, and then I don't want water yet. I want a piece of paper because I'm going to put the embossing powder, pour that on. And I also want just some extra papers, because if there's anything left, I really like to have a tag or have some extra paper. So this is the same kind of paper. Hello, Penny. And I like to have those so that I can just dab them up and I can layer them. I can, do whatever I want after, but it's kind of, then I feel like I'm not really wasting. What else do we need now? I think that's probably it. I do have like a little cloth, and I have some wipes if we need those. So first we will spray on our Lost Shadow, and this is the oxide. And I'm not even worrying too much if I miss a little bit. And I always just dab off the little nozzle, but I haven't had any problem with this getting clogged. And then I'm going to put on my color. And again, you can use oxide or stain. So I'm going to lift that, put that to the side, and then pour my embossing glaze right over top. Now, if you didn't have the same color, I think you could just use a coordinating color. You could use a different color. You can tell here too that you can see that the embossing powder stuck to some of the areas where it was thicker and some it didn't, and that's totally fine. So I'm just going to put my powder back in, and then we'll kind of use up that extra ink. What's everybody up to today? Have you gotten outside? Is it nice? I also have some paper towels just in case I need to do some blotting. So I'm going to just add a little bit of water, some spritzes of water, and this is actually kind of my favorite look, is the negative look. I love that. Isn't that pretty? So I will just set that aside, and I'll probably use this just like this. You're making cards with Crop and Create. Nice. And then we still have a fair amount of ink, and this is where I would just take that extra one and just kind of dip it in and soak up any extra. And oxide inks, any kind of distress, are super easy. And I do find that what you can do, I'm not going to do a whole bunch with this, but you can start to dry this and then you can dip it back in and then you get that watercolor layered look. That's so pretty. I know, my favorite is always the negative too. And this, I find this whole process is just, it's kind of relaxing and you just get into this groove of just seeing what happens or layering colors. So I will set that aside and then I'll use this in a few minutes to kind of dab up some more stuff. And then this I'm just gonna wipe up. And if you have a bin of water, I forgot to bring one down, but that's a quick way to just clean up, is you can just stick it in the water. There, clean. Now we get to emboss our piece. So I'm going to turn this on just for a second and get it a little bit hot because, like I said, that you don't have the sticky Versamark ink on there. So if the wet part dries, you might get your embossing powder, see how it's blowing off a bit. I would probably try to emboss it sooner than later because if the liquid dries, then the powder's not going to have anything to stick to. So all I'm doing here is heating it from the back just to start it melting, and then I won't get it blowing away when I bring it to the front. So it might take a couple minutes longer than it normally would, but you can see it's starting to emboss. It's starting to melt. Once it starts to melt, then we can bring it to the front. And we do have lots of areas that it didn't really stick to, so we're just going to see what that looks like when we spray over top. And that's the nice thing about mixed media too, is that it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm just watching the embossing glaze go shiny, and then I know that it's heated. And you don't want to overheat embossing powder or it kind of melts into the paper. But as long as everything looks pretty shiny, then you're good. Okay, so our next step, I'm just flattening that out a tiny bit, although it will get a little bit warped once we put the rest of the stuff on. Now I'm going to the spray stain in the oxide. I really like, we don't have to shake this. I really like the Lost Shadow. I said oxide, but the spray stain in the Lost Shadow, it's a soft color and it just looks really nice with whatever you're using it with. So I'm spraying it with this Rustic Wilderness, which is, I chose a green to go with my background, but a darker green, so there'd be a difference between the embossed background and the spray that I'm putting on the front. So whether you're choosing pinks or whatever, if you choose a light pink for your embossing and your stenciling, then you would choose a dark pink for the part you're going to spray on, or it would work vice versa as well. We could also even do a little bit of, this is on my table, salvage patina. We could add a little bit of that in. So this, and remember, we're not using watercolor paper. So this is going to move a bit, but not a ton. but it is water reactive, so when we put the water on, it will move a little bit. And then if we want a little bit more, and we can leave some spots white. So this we can just set aside for a minute. And this is actually like totally different from that, just from putting the salvage patina on it. Look how much lighter that is. We could make it a little bit darker. And you can go back and add more ink for sure. Okay, we're just going to leave that. So let's add our covers. And you really don't have too much ink that's wasted or laying on the background because you sprayed it pretty much right on your background. If we did have some around the edge, this is where we could go in, just grab our piece, even add a little bit of water on this, and just kind of add that extra color. And because you're still using greens and coordinating colors, nothing's going to be muddy, it's just going to layer on. Hello, Julie. Okay, so we're going to set this background here for a minute and let it dry. And while we're doing that, we'll grab our stamp and do our stamp layered flowers. So you could just go through, do a whole bunch of backgrounds, and then do coordinating flowers. I've got one that's already stamped and layered. So I've got the Altenew dye inks. These are the Green Meadows and the Summer Afternoon. And like I said, Pink Fresh has lots in there as well in the shop, and there's lots more Altenew cubes. This one is the Cone Flower Layering Stamp Set. And these are so easy to stamp. You could also do the stamps that have the stencils, that stencil the flowers. So we're going to use this larger cone flower, and you can do these in really lots of different color combinations, and there's a nice little sheet that you get, and it shows you different color combinations, and it shows you exactly how to layer it in case you're not sure. So I've already stamped it, and they've marked it with letters. So they've also have an outline around the flowers that go together. So all of these ones go with this flower, and then these other ones go together with this one. So we've got the DEF flower. So we're going to go with the D1. That's going to be our first layer. And after you do this once, it's so super easy and fast. And when you're placing these down, you can see that there's some little grooves and little areas that you can see for placement. So you're lining those up and just lining. I don't want to have my head in the camera, so I'm just making sure. And even if you get these a little bit outside the lines, once you cut them with the dies, you really can't tell at all. So I'm going to close that. We will use the first one here, Buttercream. And we're basically just adding our ink and pressing it down. I'll get my little air hockey paddle. And I usually do these about 3 times. Sorry if that camera's moving a little bit. Also, even if you don't have it perfect, because of this stamp layering nature of it, it really doesn't matter. It's just looking like you have variations in the color. Okay, so we've got that, which is beautiful. I really love these for flowers. And let's just grab a wipe. I find that these dye inks really clean up nicely as well. Okay, so our next one, we're going to put this back on. Our next one is labeled D2. And again, you're just lining up those grooves to match with the stamp. And if you're ever not sure, you can look at the flower and see where the darker parts are. And then that will help you as well. But it's really pretty easy to line it up. I'm going to go with that next color. It's just a little bit darker. This one's called Warm Sunshine. Perfect for spring. I felt like we needed some bright spring. We've still got lots of snow in the yard, but it is really melting. And isn't that nice? You can see how it's layering as well. These kind of soften and smooth out after a few minutes. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to give it a little press. We are really super excited to be getting the Altenew stamp press in. I'm very excited. The stamp wheel. So that's on pre-order, and I think it's shipping soon. That will be a really fun thing to play with. We'll be sure to do demos, and if you're at Carnival, then you'll be able to see that and try it out. This one is D3. So again, we're just layering that on. And then we will go to the caramel toffee. Hounding the rep every day. Hello, Diane. Yes, so hopefully it's on the way soon. It should be there's really great demos on YouTube of people who already have had it. Jennifer McGuire's tried it out. Tim Holtz has, oh no, I'm thinking of the trimmer, which also we're getting is that new Tim Holtz rotary trimmer. But back to the Altenew stamp wheel. I really like that. There's lots of demos. Altenew has some. Simon Hurley, that's who I was thinking of, has some demos using it. Lots of people are using it for stenciling because of the sticky mat. Okay, this one, now we're on to E. So we did the D layers. Now the E layer is the center of the flower. Okay, so I'm going to use that same color. And then, of course, you can create wreaths just by putting it in and moving your wheel around, which I think is the really great feature of that. So it's exciting when you get something new in, something new to the industry, and see lots of people in the industry using it and liking it. And here we've got E2. That's our other little centerpiece. Simon, yes. Are you on the list, Irene? Yes. It'll be very good. Hello, Beth. The rotary trimmer is about to ship And yeah, I can imagine those have sold probably really quickly. So if that's something you wanted, definitely let Sandy know so she can hang on to one for you. I'm sure those will go really quick, and then we'll just have to wait to get them back in stock again. Seems like that's the nature of everything. So this is the darkest one in that set, and this is called Paper Bag. And you don't have to use these all together. You don't have to always use them for layering. So you can kind of see that you've got, if you're just doing regular stamping and you wanted a brown ink, that is a nice light brown ink. You love your Fiskars rotary trimmer. Rotary trimmers are really great, hey? And the stamp wheel is on order. Cool. And now we are on to the F layer. So any of these Altenew layered stamps are going to work similar to this. We're just placing that to get it over top, and now we'll go to our greens. And I decided to go, you could use any combination of green. I decided to go with the two darker ones. So this one is called Just Green. That will be our first layer. But if you wanted to do the two lighter, or if you wanted to do, you know, the second darkest and then the darkest, that would look nice as well. And I'm even going to just leave that like that. I'm not going to worry about doing it a third time. And then we can layer on the last one. And this is F2, so this is your shading for the leaves. And I kind of held off from doing flowers that I had to color. I don't know, I feel like I struggle with colors and layering, but I really like the stamp and the stencil layered flowers. I like the look of it. I like that I don't have to really overthink where the shading's going, and I just pick out my color, my basic color, and then I have the layers. Okay. Now we are going to use the dies that come in that set. So the set that's in the store has the dies that come with it. And you can see how much that one softened after it. It's been a busy day, Rosie. So we're going to put this on. And if you guys have not tried this Spellbinders tape, it's the yellow tape. This is my definite go-to tape for whatever I need it for, but definitely for die cutting. And I will use this tape seriously. Like after I use it, I stick it on the top of my die cut machine, and I would say easily 10 times I can use it on little dies that I'm running through. I'm just going to run this through my Platinum 6. And then we'll have a look at our background and see how that's looking. So I don't think that you're going to get any two backgrounds that are exactly the same, because it's mixed media, and that's the fun of it. And then I'll just keep this and use it for next time. So we've got our pretty flowers here. Whoops. And those are going to go on our cards. I really love these. I've done these in blues and done them the pink tape. Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of the yellow tape. I've done these in lots of colors, purples. So let's grab our card. And then we'll have a look at our background. It's still pretty wet. This is just our scrap piece, and we'll just rub that over. And you could, at this point, you could probably just set it aside and, you know, if you were making a bunch of them, but just want to get up any water. And how pretty is that? Totally different look because I added in that salvaged patina. I really like it. We are going to have to dry this a little bit just because it will never, we'll have to wait. We'll be here all day. Yeah, it's very pretty. I love how the embossing shows through. And even those areas that didn't have embossing powder, that had the oxide spray, so here you can still see it showing through the stain. I'm trying not to remelt the embossing powder. I just kind of have to see how this goes. I think it's better if you just set it aside to dry. If it doesn't seem like it's drying, we might just have to wait. What's everybody going to be doing this weekend? Irene said she's doing the crop and create. As long as you keep this moving, it's not, and even, I mean, if the embossing powder does melt a bit, it's okay. Hard classes, fun. And as this dries, the colors are going to soften as well. Now, let's see. That could probably be okay. So pretty. Now, in a couple of those samples that I had showed you, just grab those again, I felt like they needed a little something extra, so I actually used some black soot distress ink and went around the edges. You could, I didn't do it on this one because I felt like there was enough dark, but I feel like we could do it on this one. So this is just the distress ink. Sandy's making carnival grab bags. Awesome. And you can kind of see as I start going around, it just adds this little bit of shading. And this is the nice part too about making any kind of backgrounds. If you have a piece that doesn't look finished, don't feel like you have to keep adding sprays. You can get out your inks and add inks on top of your sprays and it looks fabulous. Like I find that usually finishes it for me, is adding inks. And even if you get a little bit of ink around that those embossed areas, it's just highlighting it. So that even just kind of adds a little bit of detail, and then you can add or wipe it off with your paper towel. If there's anything stuck to that embossing powder, resist. See, so pretty. And now we can add it on. Now I would recommend to kind of just wipe things off because I usually have stuff stuck all over my hand and then I look and my card has a fingerprint on it. But I think that's just my, that'll be my signature. All right, let's put on our background. Got just some black cardstock. Then I can tell this is actually not quite dry, but I'm just wondering whether I should just leave it and not apply it yet. We'll come back to that maybe. I will come back to that and actually glue it down because I can feel that it's still a little bit damp, but I'll kind of show you how it goes together. So these have foam. We can get the foam, we can get everything kind of ready, and that way when it's completely dry, I'll be able to put that on. So I'm going to add a couple foam squares. I'm going to glue the bottom down when it's ready. So that will kind of go like that, and I'll add some glue, and so the bottom will be glued directly down, and this part will have some dimension, and the same thing on this one. It's your oldest. Pull out texture stamps. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. I think I missed something, Rosie. All right, and that's going to go like that. We have the Hello Friend. I stamped that. That is one of the sentiments that's in the coneflower set, and I just had a tag die. And I used the green ink, the green Altenew ink, so the Hunter Green, and that's a nice way too to coordinate. So you can see it stamps really nicely as well. I'm just going to put the cover on this little pin that Lorraine sent me. So that will go on here with a little piece of foam tape. That's going to go there. And then we've got these beautiful dewdrops. And like Sandy said, if you don't want the glass bottle and you just want them to be shipped in an envelope, she'll put them in an envelope for you and ship them. It's your oldest birthday today, so you can get his birthday dinner done tonight. Nice. And then you're doing crop and create. Nice. So the mixes that are in the shop, and you can search under dewdrops or the robin's nest, and there's a whole bunch of different collections. So there's mixes that have greens and other colors in them, and I just have the separate color bottles. And when you kind of start looking at the sizes, there's some that have the diamond shapes, there's some that have the teardrops, and there's large and small little circles, and so really whatever you want. So on the other card here, I used two of the greens, so small and a large green, and then I find they go back in really easily if you have the bottle. Plus I actually like the bottles. I think they're very cute. And then I had an orange. So we can go ahead and glue on the dewdrops that are going directly on the flowers, and I'll show you that Stamperia glue. My daughter had a little clay project that needed to be glued, and so we glued it with this. I love having glue that works, so I love having a sturdy glue and kind of an all-purpose glue. All right, so we've got, oh, and actually let's pull one of these, the yellow ones out. So that'll kind of be how things are placed. And there is also a rice paper glue. Let me just grab the bottle. It is fabulous too if you're doing any kind of collage. It's a little bit more liquid than this one, and it glues stuff down very nicely. Like if you have layers of paper that you want to glue down and you want to brush it on, it works very nicely. These are a little bit larger than, say, your small little gems, but I find if you warm up the end of your little Studio Cadia gem picker, which is amazing, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to, there we go, then it will grab it. And you can kind of just use that. And I do love this, especially for putting on sequins. This is my go-to. So there's a flat part and then there's the curved part. But like I said, they're a little bit heavier. So normally if I try to grab it just with the side, that's what will grab it. There we go. And then once that's all dry, I will put all those together. So that's our embossed resist. I think if you want more embossing powder to stick, then you add a little bit more spray. And if you like that kind of mottled look where some of it sticks, and then you can add a little bit less spray, and then you decide what colors you want to put together with the stains. And really, you can do whatever you want. You could go with a whole different color scheme in the background, do maybe yellows, or you could do pinks in the background. So that is our resist card. What else is new? Thanks, Cynthia. Yeah, it was just kind of fun to sit down and create a bunch of, backgrounds, and I am really trying to get some more birthday cards in my stash as well. So this would work for hello or just a friend card, or you could stamp happy birthday inside. And Sandy said she put the final touches on the new ideology in the store, and now there's the 24 single sheets of the new Vicky Boutin line. So have a look in the shop. You can look under new. The Vicky Boutin where to next. I am terrible with names. I have so many names of products in my head. So it's where to next, I'm pretty sure. Those are in and those are shipping. So be sure to have a look and see what you're looking for. So the single sheets are in. What else? Large Copic restock coming in the next couple days. Heidi Swap has a travel line, so that's going to be in the shop. And Simon Hurley has new products, stamp stencils, lunar pastes, and watch for those too. Those are fabulous. Cynthia wants to know, how do the grab bags work? And maybe Sandy can let us know. I know Sandy's doing up some grab bags for Carnival. So is that something people can pre-purchase, Sandy? Or is it first come, first serve at Carnival? You can just let us know that. The challenge is still on in the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group. So we changed it a little. Okay, so Sandy hasn't figured that out yet, but maybe you can email her, Cynthia, if you want to know more details. She's just putting them together. Oh yeah, so our challenge is still up in the group, and we just want to see black. So anything that has black on your project, then put it in the album in the Scrap Shots paper crafting group, and at the end of the month, we will draw for a winner of a $25 gift card to the Scrap Shots store. So that's pretty awesome. And I think that's it. We're just getting stuff ready for Carnival. If there's large things that you want Scrap Shots to bring in that you can pick up there rather than shipping, then you can definitely um, email her at Sandy, Sandy, at scrapshots.com, or you can place an order and put that in the notes that you'll pick it up. Um, if you want to pick up a bunch of cardstock, it's a great time for that, any of those larger items. And that goes for both Calgary or Edmonton. And yeah, I think that's it. Watch for that kit, I think might be coming out, that we had a sneak peek at last week with Paige Evans. And I've got a little mini book in the works, that kit. And when that's all finalized, you guys will have a look. So lots of fun things. So enjoy your day, have fun, get out and enjoy the sunshine, and have a really awesome weekend crafting. Thank you guys so much for hanging out today, and I hope you have a great week. I will talk to you later. Bye.